My name is Tracy. I'm 39 years old and I enjoy watching movies with my husband during breaks from parenting and household chores. I feel fortunate that we can keep the romance alive and not just be husband and wife but lovers, like before we were married. My friends often tell me my husband treats me more like a mom than a lover or wife. Tracy, I'm so jealous. It's not bad being in a couple's mood no matter the age. I hope we can keep this relationship going in the future. We never fight, but there was one time when our relationship nearly reached a breaking point. It happened when we were still in our 20s. Brian said, "Should we get married soon?" About 6 months into our relationship. Brian, who was still just my boyfriend at the time, suddenly proposed. He said it as casually as if he were suggesting going to the store. He proposed while we were watching TV in my room, so naturally, there was no mood. And it wasn't the romantic proposal I had dreamed of. But this genuine, unforced proposal felt very us, and I liked that. I immediately accepted his proposal, and we decided to get married. We had been dating for 6 months. I didn't know everything about him, but I knew his character well enough. I thought I could be happy with him, but then, 3 weeks after his proposal, he said with a troubled look, "Something complicated has come up." His unusually exhausted expression made me worried, too. "What's wrong?" I asked. "My sister, she wants to meet you." "Huh?" "We'll go to greet her for the marriage, right?" "We'll meet her then." "Yes, but she wants to meet just us before the greeting." "Oh, that's nice." "I'm happy she wants to meet." "Well, it's a bit complicated with my family." "What do you mean?" Brian reluctantly started to explain something quite serious for me. Who was about to marry into his family. Apparently, his family was quite wealthy. His father had won the lottery when he was single and used that money to start a candy company in their hometown. Gradually, their store became established in the community. And now they have second and third stores in the county. "Wow," I said, and he chuckled bitterly, "just nouveau riche." His tone was harsher than humble. "That's not like him. You don't have to talk about your family like that." "No, that's really how it is. My dad's sense of money is skewed because of that sudden wealth. And my sister, she's like that, too." "Oh. I can't explain it well, but because they're such a troublesome family. I'm actually worried about introducing you to them during the marriage meeting. He's usually a calm person who never speaks ill of others." It was surprising and increasingly worrying to hear him speak so harshly about his own family. What kind of troublesome family were they, I wondered. But I'm generally positive. I told him, "It's okay, I'd love to meet your sister since we have the chance." He reluctantly agreed, "If you say so." So came the day I first met his sister, Jenny. I was wrong. I was speechless at the tyrannical behavior of the sister-in-law. She looked every bit the wealthy person, from her appearance. Even I, who am not familiar with brands, could tell she was carrying a famous brand bag. And her accessories included large gemstones. I couldn't tell the brands of her clothes and shoes since they didn't have visible logos. But they must all be branded, too. Why do I assume that? Because Brian had told me beforehand that his sister didn't work and was still receiving an allowance from her parents while living at home, even though she was nearing 30. Such a winner in the unemployed world, a super elite unemployed. She said to me during the meal, "I had someone I wanted Brian to marry." She's a friend of mine, from a wealthy family, too." Okay. "Stop it, sis." Confused me, and the sister-in-law who was proceeding. with the conversation as if she didn't care. And Brian chiding her quickly cooled the atmosphere between the three of us. When I told you that discussion was over, Brian said, and she snapped, don't talk back to your sister. You should just listen to what your sister says. The younger son born later. Marriage is my choice. No, you always sulk so easily. You're really the most selfish one in our family. In this house, a reasonable argument is interpreted as selfishness. And it seems they are people who don't hesitate to impose unreasonable demands. Brian sighed deeply with genuine annoyance. We've met with Tracy now, so let's go home, and he got up from his seat. He went to pay first. I quickly followed him and took out my wallet. Meanwhile, the sister-in-law made no move to take out hers, even though she was the one who had invited us today. The younger brother who was invited ended up paying for his sister's meal. I couldn't help but think that it's really the sister-in-law who is the selfish one. Give me your contact information, Tracy. Saying this, the sister-in-law reached for her phone, not even bothering to pull out her wallet. Ah, yes. Reluctantly, I gave her my contact because she's his sister after all. Brian had told me repeatedly not to give it to her. But she's going to be my family by marriage. I couldn't just snub her. However, I was wrong again. 2 days after our meeting, I received an email from the sister-in-law that read, I've decided my brother will marry my friend after all. I've arranged for them to meet, so please step aside. I was alone in my room when I read it, but I couldn't help but say aloud, what is this? Should I reply? Ignoring it didn't seem right. But what could I possibly respond to such a message? As I was pondering this, more emails from the sister-in-law kept coming in. I do not accept you as part of our family. You and he are not a good match. I want him to marry someone decent so that she can support me after our parents are gone. Don't interfere. It seemed she had no intention of working, and fully expected her brother to support her in the future. I didn't reply to her emails and immediately informed Brian. As soon as he saw the emails, his face went pale, and upon questioning him, he confessed. My sister introduced her friend to me. I thought the emails were just lies and threats to break us up. But apparently, she was serious. What about me? Am I going to be dumped? There's no way that's going to happen. Brian exclaimed angrily. Sorry for raising my voice. No, it's okay. But I have no intention of marrying her friend. And what's with these emails? I don't even plan to support my sister. Yet she's making all these arrangements behind my back. Seeing him so angry at his sister's actions, I felt relieved. Unlike his sister, he was truly a decent person. 2 weeks passed. He told me to block his sister's emails, but I thought that would be too much and didn't do it. Since then, I haven't received any more emails from her. He also firmly refused to date the woman his sister was pushing. The situation was troublesome because the woman took a liking to him, and the sister-in-law was eager to set them up. But you can't just proceed with something ignoring the person's will. Unexpected obstacles had come up. But today was finally the day of our marriage introduction. That meant meeting his parents. My parents were also coming. Brian suggested, maybe we should just call it off? It's not going to end well anyway. But that wasn't acceptable. I wanted to do things properly. Just because the sister-in-law is crazy doesn't mean his parents aren't respectable. He told me not to expect much. But you don't know until you meet them. However, it was a mistake for the 3rd time. Nice to meet you. You're Tracy? Yes, nice to meet you. Please take care of me. Brian's father looked at me sternly. That look alone told me they didn't think well of me. Brian's mother gave a small nod, and right next to her, the sister-in-law smirked and said, "Long time no see, Tracy." There was zero welcoming mood. It was a surprising no response. How could they dislike me without even meeting me? It must be the sister-in-law's doing. Where are Tracy's parents? My mother is working today. She'll join us as soon as she finishes. My father is stuck in traffic. I'm sorry for making you wait on such an important day. Really now, we're taking time out of our busy schedules to be here. With that, Brian's father snorted. I could only apologize, feeling down, but Brian reassured me, "Don't worry about it." Trying to ease the tension, I suggested, "Shall we start the meal?" "Of course," said his father. It felt uncomfortable, though. Such a tense atmosphere. "I've been looking forward to the food here," said the sister-in-law excitedly as she looked around the restaurant. Brian's mother added, "I wanted to come here too, but it's always been hard to get a reservation." Today's meeting place was a famous old high-end restaurant in the neighboring town, featured on TV. The French cuisine made from organic vegetables and local fresh meat and fish is superb. And despite the price, it has many repeat customers. Reservations are necessary, and it's so popular that it's hard to book, making a second visit difficult for many. Trying to improve my image, Brian explained to his family. Tracy managed to get the reservation. "Wow, you managed to get it," his mother looked surprised. I laughed. Thanks to him, the atmosphere seemed a bit more relaxed at first. That's good, I thought, and then, "By the way, what do your parents do for work, Tracy?" Brian's father asked. "I don't even know," Brian added. "What? You don't know what your girlfriend's parents do?" "I'm not dating her parents, so it doesn't matter." "What if her family wants you to take over their business?" "Then that's fine by me, I guess. You know, Howard may be the heir, but you're also an important son to our family," Brian's father said. In response to his father's words, Brian retorted with annoyance. "You mean an important tool, right? It's my life, let me live it how I want." Howard, who was absent that day, is his brother. Unlike Brian, who often clashes with his family, Howard seems to get along very well with them, and has been directly appointed by his father to take over the company. "Really, I wanted to stabilize the company by marrying him off to a wealthy girl," his father grumbled. Jenny chimed in condescendingly, "Such a disgrace to the parents." "I don't want to be lectured by a sister who's still clinging to her parents' apron strings," Brian retorted, causing his mother to remain silent. The atmosphere was terrible. Girls should just stay home and take care of the house. "Don't worry, Jenny, I'll find you a good match soon enough. Papa, you're the best." With that, Jenny smiled, not entirely displeased by her father's words. Seeing this, I thought, like father, like daughter. Brian sighed. It's embarrassing how his disreputable family behaves in their usual manner in front of his fiancée. So, getting back to the subject, Tracy's parents are. Just as his father tried to steer the conversation back, a waiter appeared and announced, "Your guest has arrived," followed by my father peeking through. "Sorry for being late," my father apologized, dressed in a suit. Even the usually rude father-in-law couldn't afford to be disrespectful in front of my father, who was slightly older, managing only a terse, no. The roads were so congested, and my car isn't comfortable at all. My back is killing me from the long drive, my father laughed heartily. "What kind of car do you drive?" the father-in-law asked. "A light truck." I'm a farmer, so I often need to carry soil. Can't really drive anything flashy. Thanks to that, I'm on my third light truck. Just keep buying them over and over. My father laughed again, while the father-in-law's face seemed permanently contorted. What did you say now? He demanded with a demonic glare, causing me and my father to look puzzled. Is there a problem with a light truck? Would a large pickup truck have been more acceptable? You said you're a farmer? Yes. My father nodded several times, visibly intimidated by the father-in-law's stare. In between, Brian said positively, "Oh, you're a farmer," and I smiled, "Yes." Unbelievable. The father-in-law stood up abruptly and slammed the table hard. Not only us, but other customers also looked shocked. Jenny was right, love marriages are worthless. Bringing such a despicable poor person into our family. I couldn't believe my ears. Is he calling me a despicable poor person? Isn't that extremely rude? Brian, cut ties with this woman right now. I will not accept her as my daughter-in-law. What? It's not up to you to choose my partner. No. Her family is nowhere near a match for ours. What do you mean, not a match? You act like a local dignitary. But you're just nouveau riche from a lottery win. That's when my father stepped in. I'm sorry, but why must you say such things? The father-in-law snorted through his nose. Humph, if you don't even understand that, you're even less suitable as a spouse. It's just a farmer, you know? A farmer. What's wrong with being a farmer? Day in, day out, covered in mud, crawling on the ground just like a lowly citizen. Probably best friends with moles and worms. It's outrageous to come to a high-end restaurant in a light truck. Isn't it embarrassing that you've proven yourself to be such a poor person? With no common sense? I don't think my job is as lowly as you say, and while I might understand a dress code, I don't think there's one for cars. What's wrong with a light truck? After all, my parents and I are not the same entity. Oh please, the howling of the poor. Stop whining and go back to being poor. The marriage is off. With that, the father-in-law slammed the table again. Brian was arguing back. But it seemed there was no reasoning with this stubborn father-in-law. My father probably felt the same. Shall we go? He looked at me as if to say, give up, and I steeled myself. Yeah. Taking my response, he stood up. Then, we'll be leaving. Go, go. I'll pay for the meal of the poor, so just disappear quickly. The father-in-law shouted abusively. Brian was angry, demanding his father stop, but his words fell on deaf ears. Don't defy your parents, he screamed. And then threw a framed picture from the wall at us. The sudden display of violence from the father-in-law froze us all in place. Even the waiter, carrying soup, was stunned by the overturned bowl. Jenny seemed a bit surprised but smirked, serves you right, as she looked at us. Such a spiteful nature. The mother-in-law, witnessing all this, did nothing to admonish Jenny or her husband. Brian, dismayed by the situation, apologized. Sorry for making you feel bad. I'll get in touch properly. And urged me to go home for the day. After leaving the restaurant with my father, my cell phone rang a short while later as we drove away. The caller was the sister-in-law, Jenny. Why would she call at this time? I thought. And while I casually checked my bag to make sure I hadn't forgotten anything, my phone rang again. Dad, I'm getting a call from that lady over there. Just ignore it. But she's really persistent. Look, it stopped, but now she's calling again. Well, I guess you have to answer it then. I sighed, resigned, and answered the call from Jenny. "Hello? Jenny? Finally, you answered. Please, I'm begging you, come back to the restaurant." Jenny sounded nearly hysterical on the phone. What on earth was going on? Huh? What's suddenly come up? You were the ones who told us to leave. Well, I don't really understand. But the restaurant staff said they won't forgive you unless they apologize to you. Oh. Hearing that, I couldn't help but smile wryly. I see, that's what this is about. I chuckled inwardly, thinking things were getting interesting. Could it be that the picture frame that your father threw got broken? Yes. Not only that, but the spilled soup stained the painting inside it. Oh dear. That sounds like an expensive item was ruined. Now they're saying we have to compensate for it. But they might forgive you if you apologize. What kind of relationship do you have with the restaurant staff? They keep telling me to ask you directly, and won't tell me anything. That restaurant is run by our relatives. What? Didn't you find it strange? A popular restaurant that usually requires a year's reservation. And yet, we managed to book for 2 families within a month of the proposal. Now that you mention it. It was because it's run by relatives. We were lucky to get seats due to a cancellation. And by the way, my mother works there too. Remember the person who brought the soup? That was my mother. What? That person, she's the one saying you need to apologize. She probably saw everything and got angry on our behalf. I don't really understand, but please come back to the restaurant. I was about to say no when Jenny let out a small squeal. What now? Tracy? Please, I'm begging you, come back to the restaurant. Brian's father had taken the phone. Their pleas sounded so similar, I couldn't help but laugh a little. I decided to let my dad join the conversation and switched my phone to speaker mode. I refuse. Weren't you the one who told us to leave? I retorted with a smirk. I'm sorry. I had no idea you were affiliated with the restaurant. Why would you lie about being a farmer? I wasn't lying. My father is a farmer, and though he's listed as the owner, my aunt actually manages the place. If you had told me earlier. A daughter connected to this restaurant is certainly not a poor person. She's suitable for my son. Let's forget what happened today. And please come into our family. After what's been said, it's too late. What? Are you dissatisfied? It's irritating the way you're speaking. You haven't apologized, and as soon as you find the family is convenient for you, you flip your stance and say to come into your family. It's extremely unpleasant. You dare to act high and mighty. It's also your fault for not behaving like rich people. At that, my father chuckled as Brian's father started to get irate. Do you think acting like a rich person involves yelling? And intimidating someone you think is beneath you? What? What's so fun about flaunting your wealth? If that's all the joy you have, that's pretty sad. What do you mean, acting high and mighty? You're boasting about being wealthy, but what's the point? Is it enjoyable to be envied by others? Or do you want to increase your chances of being robbed? If so, that's quite an unusual hobby. I couldn't help but laugh at my father's pointed comments. Brian's father, clearly infuriated by the response, was huffing and puffing over the phone. My father could almost see his irritated face, and seemed to be enjoying provoking him. Did you deliberately make him angry, Dad? You're still such a mischief maker. Despite offering to accept the marriage, you disregard my generosity. If that's your idea of generosity, we don't need it. Just as my father firmly spoke, Brian's voice resonated through the room. I don't need Dad's approval anyway. I was taken aback and listened intently to the voice. What are you talking about, Brian? Coming out of nowhere, his father said, clearly annoyed. It's fine. Today is the last day I'll deal with Dad anyway. What? What do you mean? I want to marry Tracy, so I'm cutting ties with this family. That's why Dad doesn't need to approve our marriage. What? Do you think such selfishness is allowed? Do you really think you have the right to approve your child's marriage? If you leave the family, who will smooth over the issue with the damaged picture frame at that woman's house? That's why I'm leaving. I'm tired of being used. Brian's angry voice silenced his father. What am I to you, Dad? Expected to support my jobless sister, marry rich for the family. Build connections in case the business fails, never talk back. I'm not a slave. You're the one who never talks back, so I prepared the best life for you. Why would supporting a sister who doesn't work be considered the best life for me? The best life always seems to be reserved for her. Well, I know the reason behind our parents' unhappy marriage. What? My father and I were taken aback. I thought they just didn't talk much, but it seems Brian's parents really didn't get along. Dad, you think I'm not your child, don't you? Brian's father stumbled over his words, and our expressions stiffened. You've been misunderstanding Mom, thinking she had an affair with the store manager? I heard it from Grandma, who passed away. That's not a misunderstanding. Mom was unusually close to that man back then. That's because you were hitting Mom even at the store out of stress from work. And the manager was just looking out for her. I don't know the real story. Mom is innocent. Everyone from that time said so, and my genes say the same. What? I had a DNA test done with Dad. The result showed a 99.9% probability that I am his biological son. A bit disappointing, though. What? Brian's father's voice faded, and his mother intervened. Why can't you? I had a DNA test done between Brian and you too. I showed you the results. But you didn't believe it. I can't believe a word that cheating woman says. Don't say things just because you're convinced of them. I've told you many times, I am innocent. His mother's voice was tearful, likely overwhelmed by years of sorrow. Well, anyone could see she's innocent. I've even talked to the manager's wife, who wasn't suspicious but rather worried about Mom. And yet, because of unfounded accusations, she was driven to resign. It's sad what happened to the manager. Brian sighed. He says his sister and brother resemble their father. But he is said to be like his mother. Shortly before it was known his mother was pregnant, his parents clashed over business management, leading to their discord. His mother had consulted the then manager, asking, "Can everyone really keep up with such management policies?" Brian's father mistook this for an affair, seeing his newly born son's face, thinking, "The older two resemble me, but this one doesn't. He must be the manager's child." For years, he was less loved in the family. Yet expected to take care of his sister in the future, treated more like a tool. Worried about Mom, I didn't cut ties with the family. But if I have to choose between such a family and a new one I might build with Tracy, I choose the latter. As of today, I'm cutting ties with this family. Brian. Think it over. Say something, Mom. If Brian leaves, Howard will have to take care of Jenny. His declaration panicked his father. Nevertheless, the content of his words was despicable. He repeatedly expressed his desire not to lose a cash cow son. I was wrong, his mother murmured. What? Both his father and sister exclaimed. I kept hoping that eventually, Brian would be acknowledged as your son. That even a marriage for money could turn into one for love. I persisted out of stubbornness. But that was the wrong choice. I've only caused Brian pain. His mother's words left his father slightly trembling. What do you mean? Please divorce me. I can't take it anymore. Brian, be free. I'm sorry for everything. I gave up arguing because nothing got through to you, and that hurt you. Mom. How can such selfishness be allowed? While he was lost for words, his father vociferously claimed his own self-centered views. Even if you don't agree, the law will recognize it. If you won't agree to a divorce, I will take it to court, Brian's mother stated calmly. Wait. Let's calm down, okay? If we talk it out, I'm sure. We cannot understand each other. How can you say that? Though we couldn't see him over the phone. His disheartened tone painted a clear picture of Brian's father slumping down. Just when the line went silent, my mother's voice chimed in. Sorry to interrupt while you're all heated up, but the frame and painting, you'll need to compensate us $80,000, okay? $80,000. You said it was $50,000. Jenny panicked. No, the painting itself is $50,000, and the frame is $30,000. I felt like you weren't really listening, and it turns out you really weren't. You've got to be kidding. Brian's laughter burst through the phone, replacing Jenny's despairing voice. My father and I also shared a laugh, saying, "What a perfect ending," and then we hung up. Afterward, Brian, as he declared, cut ties with his family and even took my surname, expressing a desire to change his name. My father was overjoyed, saying, "I've gained a son." Soon, Brian might officially become his son-in-law. Following the divorce, Brian's parents separated. His father was not only required to split the assets with his mother, but also had to pay compensation for the emotional distress caused during their marriage, with the obligation to also settle the payments for the frame and painting. It was a significant loss. Though they were wealthy, this level of expense was still notable. Freed from her marriage, Brian's mother felt emboldened, or perhaps more relaxed, and began sharing her past grievances with local people. This chatter ended up on a community online forum, leading to rampant speculation that quickly smeared the store's reputation. Though not bankrupt, customer visits dwindled, and the store, once bustling and handling high-end confectionaries, now echoed emptily. They shifted to selling cheaper sweets in bulk, but even that strategy wasn't hitting the mark, resulting in the closure of their second and third stores. It's hoped that the original store won't go under. Brian's brother, once the designated successor, quit the company to start his own business, refusing to take care of Jenny as suggested. He wanted distance from the family, leading to his resignation. Now, Brian's father struggles to manage the nearly bankrupt shop, and his still dependent daughter, Jenny. Why do we know so much about a family we've cut ties with? Well, after Brian left, his brother, who also distanced himself from their family, came to our wedding celebration. He too was dissatisfied with his family's ways, and celebrated Brian's departure as a joyous occasion. Since he still occasionally hears from his family, we get updates through him. The nouveau riche family, disdainful of farmers, has been steadily declining in a somewhat ironic twist. Since then, my husband and I have had 2 daughters. Despite hearing that girls are less troublesome, they are as mischievous as boys, keeping us up day and night. Born close together, they fought constantly in their younger years, and as they grew, they brought home bugs by the dozens, came back muddy, and had their share of fights with friends. These children never cease to bring me challenging news. But seeing them healthy is what matters most. And though they often fight, they make up quickly. True, they give me quite the headache with their tomboy antics. But watching their sleeping faces at night, I think to myself, I'm glad I had them. And next to me, drooling in his sleep, is my husband, looking adorable to me. Love is truly blind, huh? Soon, our family will grow by one more, aiming for a big family, you know?